Pelvis positioning can affect how our hips function, our diaphragm, our pelvic floor, and our abs. I like this drill to help with kind of repositioning that pelvis so that when we go to do the active work, we're not fighting so much with ourselves against some internal resistance that we might have. So what we can think about is that our pelvis can sometimes be in a little bit more of a shove or push forward position. So this can be some of a tip forward, but also more so where the hip bones have kind of splayed out. What that ends up doing is that can create compression on the backside of that pelvis, tightening up those deep hip external rotators and backside hip muscles here and create tightness in the backside of your pelvic floor. And it can also create separation in the front between your hip bones, which are where your lower ab muscles connect to, and make them a little bit harder to connect to because they're in that lengthened position, as well as kind of lengthen our pelvic floor. If you think about our pelvic floor being a string that goes between those sit bones, as we're into more of this position, that string actually goes on slack and kind of hangs down a little bit and then takes on the weight of our organs like a trampoline with snow and creates some of that tension down. However, what we're going to do now is we're going to take a foam roller and lay on it to help create more of this internal rotation or side compression here, which will separate those sit bones and lift up the pelvic floor as that string is brought on to being a little bit more taut. It'll help approximate and bring those hip bones closer together for better lower ab engagement. And then it'll help open up the backside here to let that back area let go and relax a little bit more for better glute lengthening and function. The thing you want to be mindful about this is if you're in your pregnancy or if you have a history of SI joint instability, ease into it, feel it out, right? Especially if you're further along in your pregnancy and have more ligament laxity. And instead of a foam roller, try a towel out, do one side, and then walk around, see how you feel, and do the other side. Just like any kind of release work, too much too quickly can sometimes be a little bit uncomfortable on the body as you haven't given it a new way to support itself. So what we're gonna do here is you're gonna take the foam roller and you're gonna lay down on your left side. So with this, we're trying to think about that foam roller getting right on that hip bone here. So I'm not on the bottom leg bone, but on the pelvis itself. I'm also not on my abs for it. So I'm gonna lay down and I'm gonna try to straighten that bottom leg. Even being here to start can feel a little bit tender as you're on some tissue that is often overworked and can be sensitive. So if this feels too intense, again, you can go with blankets for it. The idea of a lot of these repositionings and release work is that you can relax into it. So as I'm here, I'm then gonna take my top leg and I'm gonna bring it up in front of me as much as feels comfortable. I'm making sure that my hip doesn't hike up as I do that. But by bringing that leg up, it's gonna kind of help get that top pelvis over the bottom while that foam roller is holding the bottom one in place. You might feel a stretch in the outside of your top hip here. You might feel a gentle stretch in the backside of your pelvis for it. If this feels like it's too much, a lot of time that's indicative that you also need to do it on the other side, and you can always put something underneath your knee to help out with it. So as I'm here, I'm gonna reach my top arm forward, like someone's kind of pulling that shoulder blade forward. I'm making sure I'm not thrusting my ribs to get there. They are staying kind of set in and back. So I'm gonna reach that arm forward gently, keeping it parallel to the ground, and I'm gonna inhale through my nose, breathing back into the wall behind me, breathing down into that foam roller. And then a nice soft exhale, feeling yourself melt down over that foam roller like it's a deflating ball, how that foam roller is gently hugging that pelvis up and in from the front side. Pause there, inhale again, exhale, all that air out, making sure you're just relaxing into it and not holding any tension in your legs as you're there. I find you can go for 5 breaths, and as you kind of hang out there, you'll feel everything kind of relax a little bit more. You can even go up to 2 minutes as long as it feels good and not too aggressive. Afterwards, it should feel like you can kind of move your hips a little bit more easily, might be able to engage your abs in some ab work or engage your hamstrings or find length in your glute, or walk around and just feel if things feel a little bit more balanced. But it's a nice exercise to do as kind of a warm up to kind of get the rust knocked off so it's a little bit easier to access those muscles. And then don't forget to do some active exercises afterwards to help stick everything in place and take advantage of that new position.